There were 3 ways to wake up a disaster meteorite. One was to let the meteorite hatch in line with the scenario. The second method was to draw out the power of the meteorite in advance. The third and fastest way was to supply magic power to the meteorite. Dozens of Lee Solhwa's group members were praying. The faint magic power was flowing out of their bodies into the meteorite. The hatching ceremony. They had chosen the third method. Based on the meteorite's heavy shaking, the disaster would wake in 30 minutes. I did Lee Solhwa and opened my mouth. "Won't you stop? Unless you want to die together. What are you thinking?" It was strange. In the original third regression, there was no one foolish enough to wake up the disaster, even if they did borrow its power. Yoo Jonghyuk must have visited Lee Solhwa in advance because he knew about it. "Stop hatching to the disaster meteorite, then I'll spare you." Lee Solhwa looked at me quietly. "What if I don't want to?" "You'll die here." Poisoner Lee Solhwa had an expression of ridicule on her face. Her hands moving the humans praying towards the disaster turned towards me at the same time. "The 8th grade outside species, lower human Nam Minhyuk, has showed hostility towards you. The 8th grade outside species, lower human Jung Minji, has showed hostility towards you. The 8th grade outside species, lower human Kim Gapil, has shown hostility towards you." Antennae grew on their heads, and their hands turned sharp like rakes. These wanderers seemed to have become transformed humans, rather than wolves. There was a worrisome point. It's strange. Isn't transforming humans the power of the disaster meteorite? I remembered at the same time Lee Solhwa shouted, "Die!" The loyalists leaped in the air, their wings spread out. I aimed the hilt towards them. Blade of Faith is activated. The special option of Unbroken Faith is activated. The ether property is converted to fire. White flames split apart the air. All species with insect properties were weak to fire. The ether flames of Unbroken Faith spread to the skin of the lower humans. 1 to 2, 2 to 3. The flames burned the skin of the lower humans. I cut off the legs and wings of the lower humans. Magic power gushed out and burned the lower humans in a flash. It was the same in the case of the werewolves. They walked a path other than human, and didn't receive a penalty from killing them. I broke through the flames and ran towards Lee Solhwa. For the first time, Unbroken Faith was blocked. Lee Solhwa's fingernails and forearms were tinged in a dark light. The power of the disaster increased the level of Sigmas. By barring the power of the disasters, her poisonous nails could block the Blade of Faith. However, that didn't mean she could prevent all damage. Sparks flew, and Lee Solhwa's body was pushed back a few steps. It'd be strange if that didn't happen. My current overall stats were the highest among all incarnations, apart from Yoo Jonghyuk. I might have no talent, but I wasn't weak among the incarnations. Give up. It won't be good for you if the disaster hatches now. Doesn't this Sub-Zero have no penalty for failure? Lee Solhwa looked towards the disaster meteorite nervously. There was a change in the atmosphere. It felt like she was aiming at the disaster, rather than the power from the disaster meteorite. It was strange. Even a person who didn't read the original novel would expect Soul to be destroyed when the disaster hatched. Then why did she want to wake up the disaster? The exclusive skill character list is activated. Character information. Name, Lee Solhwa. Age, 26 years old. Constellation support, Guam Divine Doctor. Private attribute, Competent Physician, rare. Master Poison, rare. Exclusive skills, Weapons Training level 7. Love Affair Demon level 4. Emit Deadly Poison level 5. New Poison Preparation level 4. Counteract Poison level 5. Stigma, Deadly Poison level 4. Thousand Spirits Poison level 4. Crossroad of Life and Death level 3. Overall stats, Physique level 44, plus 10. Strength level 42, plus 10. Agility level 44, plus 10. Magic power level 35, plus 10. Overall evaluation? The current comprehensive evaluation is currently in progress. This character is currently infected with a parasite. The parasite is currently controlling the body of the character. Some of the parasite, Antinous' stats will be transferred to the character. Damn. I didn't think her condition would be like this. Due to the effect of your exclusive attribute, the memory effect of some scenes have increased. In my head, pages flipped and the sentences of some pages flew into my retinas. There are 5 dominant species in the world of Kronos. The Velkia in the east, the Parasites in the west, the Immutar in the south, and the Mistalin in the north. Finally, the Inba in the center. I avoided the poisonous attack and kicked her back, causing her to lose balance. Lee Solhwa rolled around on the ground and groaned. I watched Lee Solhwa and opened my mouth. The fifth scenario is a scenario where the disasters of Kronos was made into a motif. Lee Solhwa's eyes shook as she heard disasters of Kronos. On the day Kronos was destroyed, the 5 dominant species of Kronos elected 1 hero from each species. The 5 chosen heroes shamefully survived the destruction and carry on Kronos' path. They were sent to another world through a contract with the Star Stream. They came to that world, encountered another species, and promised their lives in exchange for stopping the disaster there. A non-human cry emerged from Lee Soho's mouth of the story. They were called the Guides. How does a human know such things? How did I know? I knew because I saw it in a book. You aren't Lee Soho. Disasters were hatching faster than the original. There were no humans who would do such a thing. Parasite Queen Antinous. Why is a guide trying to wake up the disaster? Only a fallen guide would dream of such a thing. The 5th grade parasite Antinous is looking at you. Parasites were a parasitic species that lived through other species. Now Lee Solo was being manipulated by one of the guides. I looked at the dead bodies of the lower humans. Just with Lycaon's meteorite, it wasn't the power of the disaster, but the power of Cronus' guide that promoted the human transformation. Why are you infecting the humans here? Why are you doing this? What do you get for waking up the disaster early? Isn't the purpose of the guides to prevent the disaster, along with the people of this world, and unite with us to build a new world? Why are you trying to destroy the terraformed world? This is an act that violates your mission. It isn't too late, so get out of her body right now. Do the right thing, Guide Antinous. If possible, I didn't want to kill Lee Solhwa. Maybe Yoo Jonghyuk would do the same. The poisoner became one of the 10 evils after being infected by the Lahericide. Lee Solhwa might not want to be the 10 evils if the infection was removed. It was why Yoo Jonghyuk's conversation didn't work. He tried to protect his old lover from the Parasite Queen. The message of the midday tryst blinked in the air. Kill her. Used Yoo Jonghyuk. The important thing isn't her life, but the survival of this world. Act wisely, Kim Dokja. Due to the far distance, I couldn't see what Yoo Jonghyuk's expression was like. He had to worry about this world, rather than the woman who he once gave his affection to. Maybe this was the nature of a hero. I said, then you'll be unhappy. It doesn't matter. Yoo Jonghyuk's voice was steady and firm. But I knew. If Lee Solhwa died here, Yoo Jonghyuk would someday collapse. The deaths of his acquaintances would pile up, gnawing at Yoo Jonghyuk's memories and making his mind wary. You're just a human. The Parasite Queen spoke through Lee Solhwa's mouth. Hatred for humans was ingrained in her tone. In fact, I knew why she hated humans so much. However, the situation wasn't relaxed enough for me to think about her feelings. Die! Black liquid started to flow from Lee Solhwa's body. The Thousand Spirits poison. This was when Lee Solhwa's talent started to be shown off. Black liquid shot from her fingernails towards me. I took a few steps back while the Thousand Spirits poison melted the ground. If Yoo Jonghyuk was an ordinary incarnation, he would have already become like this. Yoo Jonghyuk asked, Do you have a countermeasure to the Thousand Spirits poison? I do. I also wasn't an ordinary person. Strictly speaking, I wasn't an incarnation. Lee Solhwa's poison spread through the air towards me. It felt like it had a will of its own as the poison freely moved through the air and found my weakness. A few drops splashed on my thighs and then my forearms. Part of the suit hit by the Thousand Spirits poison started to melt. A satisfied smile appeared on Lee Solhwa's face. However, this was an early judgment. I ran through the poison and punched her hard in the belly, throwing her back. She flew through the air with a terrible cry. My skin touched by the Thousand Spirits poison showed some discoloration, but it soon returned to its original color. Lee Solhwa was upset. The Thousand Poisons resistance? Horror was in her eyes. Thousand Poisons resistance was the terror of all beings who used poison. However, I didn't have Thousand Poisons resistance, or immunity to 10,000 poisons. Antinous, you don't know the sponsor behind your host? I put my hand in my pocket. That's why you don't know. You don't know, but I'm sure it's inside that body, right? After a while, a book appeared in my hands. A constellation worried about the degradation of Oriental medicine has revealed its own modifier. The constellation, Guam Divine Doctor, looks at you with amazement. Donggui Bogam, unfinished book. It was one of the greatest Oriental medicine records in the East. The Donggui Bogam was an item that appeared in the 5-person dungeon during the King's qualifications. I had a hard time collecting this. During the King's qualification scenario, all the kings were frantically trying to get the 4-yin demonic beheading sword. While the kings were covering the 4-yin demonic beheading sword, I picked up other items. Many items were thrown away because they didn't know their value. Among them, I was interested in Donggui Bogam. Internal Medicine, 4th part. External Medicine, 4th part. Various Diseases, 11th part. Remedies, 3rd part. acupuncture first part, telecompetence second part. It was a star rec that could be completed after 25 parts were collected. Unfortunately, I only collected 8 pieces, but that alone was enough to see an effect. Even though I only collected 8 parts, the Dongoi Bokam had the effect of the S-grade immunity to poison bead. The effect of the Dongoi Bokam, incomplete, has been activated. Your body has temporarily gained the poison resistance ability. The baffled Lee Soho shouted, "How? The Thousand Spirits poison?" I know. Thousand Spirits poison is a poison that can't be counteracted with ordinary poison resistance. But it is possible for the Dongoi Bokam. Why do you think that is? The constellation Guam Divine Doctor is smiling faintly. One constellation faintly glowed, as if in response. It's because the constellation who made the Thousand Spirits poison is the author of the Dongoi Bokam.